Righty, I'm just reading about this fuel gauge thing because I thought maybe I should do that, because I think what I might do is run the fuel lines and stuff to the back. So if I'm going to do that, I may as well be running the gauge. So I might as well try and repair this gauge first, I guess. And then I can run both those lines at the same time. I'll have to get some sort of little, I'll get some sort of little tubing or something to put over this, just as an insulator, I guess. Since it's so fine, we don't want it to rattle around, rub and break. So I have to have a wee look to see if I can find something that I can slip over that in a few places with those clips. Maybe a little bit of just a little bit of rubber hose that I can just cut into little sections. I'll have to have a look, see what I can find. Maybe even like just a little bit of vacuum line or something like that. Just, slip half a dozen pieces over and put on the things, and hopefully when we tighten it up it's enough to hold it. So yeah, so I've just been trying to read how this gauge, I thought this was actually a set of instructions that was on how to repair, and it kind of is, but it's not really. It just tells you how it works. So yeah, so basically I've got I'm just not sure whether you meant to seal this tube up at the top, whether it's meant to be once you've got it set, if you know what I mean. Because this red fluid that's in here is 4 times heavier than fuel. So as the tank fills up, so basically that little tube and its mechanism, or however it works, but this little tube and that combined is 4 times, if you put it stacked it up, would be 4 times and for the height of the tank. So as it's empty, obviously that you set the fluid up so it comes up to the bottom of the gauge where it's empty. Or basically with the little line disconnected, put enough fluid in it so it sits at the bottom, and then as the tank falls up, it slowly pushes that fluid up with the air pressure that comes through from the little tube back to the gauge, as long as the mechanism in the tank's working properly. So I don't know. Hopefully it's working okay. It looks to be in reasonable sort of condition. I don't really know. It'd be one of those things you'd probably have to desolder it all and pull it all apart. It kind of shows you on here, this bit, how the tank unit works, and obviously how the gauge works with the little tube, and then it goes up to the bottom of the little glass and it pushes the fluid up and down. So yeah, fun little project. So I'm going to try and get this back together and work that out. So I'm going to get the other one out of the body. I'm probably have to do a few little repairs to that body. It's pretty flimsy. I might use a bit of that metal mend putty to help strengthen it back up and build it back up, because I have to paint the back behind the glass and all that sort of stuff as well. Paint it white after I've done a little bit of work to it. So I think I'm going to probably do that so we can get those bits in and buttoned up before I muck around with finally putting wheels on and stuff like that. So yeah, I want to paint those, we'll be tarting them up with rattle can for the rims so they look half decent on the body. So yeah, I'll have a play with that fuel gauge, I think. And it's kind of getting less and less stuff to do up underneath that dash, apart from a little bit of wiring. So I think that's what I'll do. to get that done, I think. Also, I used this obviously to do a bit of detail work on that air cleaner, a little adapter of it. So far, pretty impressed with these things. They perform quite well. So yeah, I've used it a little bit for that, and I was mucking around doing a couple of other bits and pieces with it, and seemed to last right. Haven't worn the, haven't like chewed the edges off. They seem to be quite solid at the back so far, but like I've only used it one. Like that's the first one I've used, so holding up alright. Still got plenty of rip there on the outside, and I can see once you sort of wear this edge off, you know, once you got it pretty worn, then you would chop it back till you get to a nice grippy piece again, and then you would use it for 2-inch. So yeah, so far quite impressed. Seems to be working okay. Time will tell that. So anyway, we'll I'll dig that old bit of the gauge out, see if we can get that little brass tube and the glass and everything out of it, and we'll go from there. Right, so I've got this gauge here. So as you can see in the back of it, it needs a bit of repair. On the side of it, it's starting to, it's like pot metal shit. It needs a bit of repair there. It needs a wee bit of thing. It's got a crack in here. Well, this is held on. The one side of it's all right, but the other side's starting to break away. Like I think it'll fall off when we get the tube out of it. So we get this tube out, the old one anyway. We can get this out, and then we'll see what we're going to do to try and build some integrity back into this thing and get the remainders of the. I had the glass tube in there, but when I had it soaking there for ages in several different fluids to see if I could get this little tube here to unblock. Yeah, it's definitely blocked. The glass tube fell out, the little sight glass, so yeah, we'll try and get this off. At least then we can look at what we're doing here. Just spinning. Okay. It's just fucking spinning. Spinning its wheels. Might be just easy to cut this off, like. I'm going to put a side cutters and I'll just cut this tube. I'll leave myself a bit of length so I've got something to hold on to we're trying to get this rest of this out. Yeah, so there we go. That was what was holding it there. That's the tube. So we'll have to do some repairs here. We could have bought another body too, but fuck, we were getting that. Like it was over like $500 US for all the shit, and the freight was as much as the other bits. Why it was so fucking much to get it here, I do not know. But some people need to look at their overseas freight, but they probably just don't care. They probably know they're making a fucking heap of money out of it. So, but anyway, so we've got that off. I'm obviously going to have to do some repairs to that. We'll just build it up here, it's not going to matter. I can't weld it, but we might be able to just build it up with that pot metal stuff to help hold it. It's not going to matter if it's a bit thick around here and make it a bit stronger. It won't matter. So, I'm thinking this is probably soldered in. So I might just heat it up with that little blowtorch, wherever that is. Hopefully that might be just soldered in there or something, I don't know. Really know how that would be how. Starter button's broken. Right. So it's soldered in me. Oh. Finally let go. Okay, transfer the heat quick. Just gotta cool that down. Quite hot fast. So you need to, you don't see a lot of it, you do see some of it, so we'll paint that white in there. Get the yeah, that's, so you don't see all of it, but you're still going to see some of it, so it still needs to be painted. Something in the back of there so it doesn't stick out like dog's balls and help. So you can see the colour a bit better. Oh, that's a win. So I'm wondering just that slightly loose cable. It's not allowing it to charge, so it's now charging at an idle with 14.4, so yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Righty, so I've got me tube of stuff here. What I'll do, so I might just bevel this a little bit on here, maybe. More so just this side, just a little bit. I won't take it all the way down, just so I can get a bit of extra meat in that piece. We'll build it up out here a little bit too, hopefully to help hold it. Right, cool. Oh. Now we'll let it harden up. What do I do now? Think about things here for a minute. Can't do much of that for at least well, I wouldn't say 24 hours, but till tomorrow morning really. So we got alone. Think about things for a couple of minutes and we'll come back to you. Righty, so while I'm waiting on obviously that to cure up, and I sprayed that piece for the air cleaner there just earlier. It's not much point me running fuel lines or anything down there yet, but I just thought I haven't really cleaned up the bolts for the diff head, like for the back cover in the front and for the head, or pumpkin, whatever you guys want to call it. So they're two different sizes, so I need 10 of each plus washers and whatever. So I just hunted through some of the bits of hardware out of that box, and there was a bit of stuff in that bench, because there's a bit of a mixture of that diff over there that we stripped apart to, we thought we might have been able to get diff head and parts out of it. And plus there was, I think, the bolts, some of the bolts from this one over there, because this had been partly pulled apart at some point. So yeah, I've got a mixture of bolts in there, and we'll give 90% of them a good clean up and see which ones look pretty decent. Might chase the threads and whatever and just make sure they're nice and clean. And what I'll probably do is that bit of cardboard over there that I've painted some bolts, and I might just put all the heads in with the washers. Once I've got them all clean, I'll take all that stuff out and sit them in something, one of these little trays. I don't see those blue ones there. I'll stick that stuff in them, and I'll just give all those bolts a quick paint, because yeah, we might end up, I don't know what's happening with this drill shaft, but at least I can have all the little bolts painted there ready to throw on. It's a bit time consuming doing that, so it's a good way to fill in, an hour or so while I'm just waiting on other stuff to sort itself out. And I could be putting those wheels on, but again, I don't really want to do it until I put the dip head in, because I've got to pull the axles out, put the dip head in, so there's not much point putting the wheels on and then pulling them off again and screwing around. So I'd much rather get that sorted. Plus still got to put the seal on the other side and set the what do you want to call it, the actual bearing tension. So I can't really do that properly until we got diff head in too. So yeah, it's a little bit of mucking around there, but yeah, we might as well get these bolts cleaned up. Right, I just threw that on there. I decided I might as well throw it on. I don't think it's too much in the road. Hopefully we can get the choke cable past it. If not, well, I'll modify it somehow, we'll work something out. I should be able to get it past there, should be able to sneak past there hopefully. If not, yeah, we'll just modify it a little bit or something. But so that's that done. Got all the bolts and bits and pieces cleaned up for the diff housing. I've got a few extras in there, just in case some of the threads aren't kosher. Also got the tag for the, I guess it's the ratio there, 4.18, so that must be what that is. I know it's definitely off the diff, so I gave that a quick coat of just rattle can black for all it'll matter underneath there. So that's cool. The guy turned up before with the other bolts, so I gave them all a tack as well, and he'd taken them away to put the front wheels together. So maybe tonight or tomorrow morning or something like, we should have both front wheels here, which is fucking awesome. So this stuff here now looks like it's fairly dry, so I might just start cleaning this up, so at least I can maybe get a coat of white in there, and just dress this up, and then we can drill a hole through there to accept this. Just work out what we're going to do here. It's a shame they didn't make it like that. I don't know why they just didn't machine a little shoulder on there or something like that, but we'll work on it, we'll get it. So yeah, we'll clean that up, give that a wee buzz with the roll locks and whatever, and give it a clean up in there, and we'll blow it might give it a wee sandblast after it, so it sort of just preps that surface a little bit in there. and then we'll throw a wee bit of edge in it, and maybe tomorrow morning we might blow a bit of white in there depending on what the temperature's like, just so we get a decent, we want to call it a decent frickin' adhesion. You know, like bolts and stuff I'm not too worried about, but this here I want to make sure it at least stays there, so we'll give that a clean up, or yeah, give it a wee sandblast in there, throw a wee bit of etch in there, and then a couple of coats of etch in there, and then we'll paint it white in the morning. So yeah, we'll get this cleaned up. It feels like it's hard enough now, so we'll at least dial it in anyway. Right, so use one of those old worn out ones, discs that still got a little bit of guts in the centre because that's too big, but smoothed that out nicely in there, remembering that we're only going to see this portion of it really, so there's still a bit of a hollow there, but I'm not too worried about that. We're all worried about the piece that we can see. So I've sanded that flat, so I'll throw that in the I'll detail this a bit more, and then we'll throw it in there and we'll give that a sandblast and an etch. But yeah, we'll work that. But yeah, we're done on the outside, on the inside anyway. We'll clean up the outside. Oh, I probably should have waited a wee bit longer. It was ground pretty nicely, but yeah, it was just a little bit soft to try and drill. It broke a piece out of it, so I just rebuilt it back up again, and hopefully it'll bind between the two lots. Yeah, it was actually drilling pretty reasonably well, but when it got close to going through, it broke it off, just because it was a bit still soft. You know what I mean? Like it ground up pretty nicely, and it was pretty easy to grind. Whereas, yeah, I think if I'd left it until tomorrow, I just thought, you know, we might shape it up and better drill it, but yeah, it's a bit soft, so we'll just let it cure overnight and attack it again in the morning, and hopefully it works well. I don't think it should be too much of a problem. You know, we'll work around it. We'll figure it out one way or another. But yeah, anyway, we'll leave that. And we've got some of it cleaned up. You know, clean up on the inside and whatever. And we should have dressed up, you know, bits of the outside of it. It was just, yeah, should have left the drilling till tomorrow once it's really hardened up. But anyway, that's cool. Good morning, everyone. So, I just ground that up again. Well, started anyway. So I'm going to go around, I'm going to try and drill the hole through this piece. Hopefully it doesn't break away on me today. With it being a bit harder overnight, hopefully it's had a bit more time to cure than it did last night. So yeah, we'll go try that, and if we can get that successful, then we'll get that piece fitting, the brass tube piece, get at least that to fit in there, and then we'll go from there. I might have to run a file through in between to open it up a little bit, yeah, just get that all cleaned up and at least accept that brass tube. Yeah, right, we're not having much luck. I managed to get a small hole through there, but as soon as I try to put a bigger hole through there, yeah, just the pressure of it, even if I was holding it on, like down on the bench or on a vice or something like that, and I was holding it here, like on here like that, to try and support it, it just broke away. So I'm trying to work out what I'm going to do next. And what I'm thinking, we've got this plate here, on here, which is part of it. So I'm contemplating making a bracket that sits on top of that with this upstand on it out of metal, and just grinding most of this away, because it's the pot metal and it's just, at least if it's screwed in there together, you know, and I don't take it down too far obviously to get away from this stuff. I think it might be just a bit more successful. I can use a bit of that, wee bit of that plate. I'll leave this on here until I get it formed, I think. and then we'll just bolt it on with this, or maybe even just put a couple of tack welds on it, just to hold it in place, if you know what I mean. Because I think this is just going to keep breaking off for me with this stuff, as much as I would like it on there. And maybe what I could do is maybe fill the back of this in with the JB weld, just to secure this on here a bit better, so it's got a bit more grip. You know, like sand this down, put a bit more JB weld on it, and then just run on the belt, sand it so it was flat after we build this piece. I think it's a better way to go. Righty guys, so I've been using this disc for a couple of days now, just doing little odd jobs. Actually we're pretty good. I haven't managed to cut an edge off one yet or anything like that, even though I've been only using a 2-inch backing on it. They're pretty strong. It's getting fairly worn on the edge, still plenty of meat in the middle. So yeah, I'll use it for a bit longer, and then we'll cut it down. There's a 2-inch one, just a comparison. So yeah, you're wearing it just a little bit underneath that sort of 2-inch size, so it'll be about 1 3/4 inch that'll be left in the middle. So yeah, so far I'm quite impressed with the backing. That's pretty strong. Haven't managed to cut an edge off one, you know, like using it. So, and I've got a couple of these bins out and just setting them in there so they're handy. Half tempted to maybe to anchor these on the wall with a couple of screws or something. We'll just see. But yeah, we'll carry on making our bit now that I've had the front wheels dropped off. So we'll carry on. Just trying to remember what I was doing since I was interrupted. Righty, so this is now attached to that. So I've welded it onto these tags at the end. So that should be good and strong now. Like that's basically in the same place as it was. Just made it of steel, you know, and it's welded to that tang. Like the only thing that's going to happen is this casting here would break off that back piece now. But it should be nice and solid. So I'll give this a wee heat up with the heat gun, just dry it off, and then we'll give it a wee quick spray and we'll paint it after lunch. Thought I had a can of white spray paint here. And you think I can find it? No. Yeah, I don't remember throwing it out, which is a pain. Oh, better send a message, I suppose, and so I think he's in town trying to get some more bits and pieces. And yeah, I'll carry on, I guess. I was going to spray the inside of that and out the back of it black, but doesn't look like I'm doing that this afternoon. Well, I can spray it black, I suppose, spray the back part of it black, like I did with all the other gauges, and just so it's uniform. And yeah, we'll paint the white tomorrow, I guess, or the next day. I wanted to get that gauge together. Anyway, we'll carry on. Right, so I've got the front wheels up here. Unfortunately, the paint's been freaking pretty heavily knocked around in these, unfortunately, when they've been trying to do whatever they had to do to put them together, because they try and squeeze these bands in a machine so they're true too. I'm not exactly sure how. Unfortunately, I didn't really get to go see the process. I was hoping to go and see them at least put together a wheel, maybe make a bit of stuff, but I didn't, so just give these another warm up because they've been temperatures cooled off. I just actually gave them a really light scuff with some 600. These, just to try and whatever. They had another couple of spots in those other front ones, so I just gave them all the stuff with 600 as well. Kind of there as well. Just wiping them down with grit. We'll brush some paint on here, and then once it's dried in a couple of 3 days, I might give them another wee rub with 600 again, and then just give them a light buff, just around the edge, shine them up again. I'll just lightly sand off the high spots, I guess, in the paint that I paint on. Alrighty, well since I was kind of waiting on all that crap to dry in the back of that housing, and I can't do much with that because I haven't got the white paint and whatever, so I thought I may as well start putting these ends on these plug leads. Now these aren't the right ones, these are the ones that we got that were wrong. Just nobody in town's got them, so we could have got the right things, but I just modified what we had. And if we have any problems, we'll get the right ones and replace them, if you know what I mean. So all I've done, I just centre punched in the centre of it, drilled a hole, whatever size the drill bit that is, which is just about the same size, or a little bit bigger than the little screw-off terminal on the plug, and then just cut the excess off that we don't want with the cut-off disc, and just give it a little file up. And yeah, that's pretty much all I did. Works. Yeah, and then I'll just put a little bit of heat shrink around the end when I've crimped it up, just to kind of tidy it up a little bit, I guess, you know what I mean? Again, that's another thing I haven't got. I haven't got a set of high tension lead plug type crimpers. So I had about 4 sets of flat nose pliers, so I just modified a set. I'll show you what I did. Hold on, I'll put you on the tripod. Right, so, and some of you are probably saying, well, you know, why don't you just go buy a set of crimpers? Well, you know, if you fucking went and bought a tool every time you needed it, it's all well and good, like, and at some point I will go get a set, but, you know, at a pinch, and sometimes you can just, especially, like, this is an old crappy pair of just flat nose pliers that I've had for a long time. You know, I don't need, well, I think I've got like 4 or 5 sets of these of different variations, you know what I mean? Some are just straight out flat, and then some have got the curve in here, and there's a couple of, these are the ones that had wire cutters in them. You know, like, I don't need 4 or 5 sets, so I just thought, so what I did, I just filled up in here with weld, clean the surface off the best I could. I actually run the cutting disc, which actually held it, and overfilled it, and then just run the cutting disc in there a couple of times until I got it to close back up. Put it in the jaws of the pillar drill vise, and just went down with the drill. And it actually works quite good. I measured up what the thickness of this was without the crimping tool on it, without the crimper on it. I just made it basically that sort of size, not basically sort of snug-ish. So by the time we put one of these around it and then squeeze it up, it's not going anywhere. You know, ideally it would be nice to have the right thing, but it works, you know. Sometimes you just got to think out of the box. Now, if you went and bought a tool every frickin' 10 minutes because you needed something, or you never had any money, you know, and at some point, now when I'm going into town and I've got a heap of spare cash and I'm going to go buy a heap of tools, well, you know, I will, but I'll get some of the things that I think that I need at the time. And this is probably the thing that I'd forget, but you know what I mean? Because you're not very often making a set of old high tension leads, but you know, you do, you know, if you're playing with cars a lot, well, you're going to have a set at some point, but you know, if you get a spare set of pliers around, you know, and it's probably the right tool for doing this too, you know. But you know, just do what you do, you know, you don't have to have every fucking tool in the box. But I wish I had a shitload more tools for some things, you know, but you make do with what you got and you carry on, if you know what I mean. So, we get this around to this sort of position we want. So we want that bit of, so this is like the copper wire type plug leads too. So you get that piece, flip it over the top where you're going to have this sitting, so it's getting a really good contact. Putting that on there. I just give these a bit of a tweak in. Using the pliers. So it's sort of half squeezed in. And put them in that hollow. And just squeeze in. Turn these around 90 degrees. Another squeeze. Like that. Squeeze it right up. And I'll give that a tug. Yeah, it's not really going anywhere really. So I'll just got a little bit of heat shrink. Right at the end. Actually, got a little blowtorch lighter. I need to bury the car earlier on today because this has got the car. This will do. And just got the little propane blowtorch. And shrink that on, just to tidy it up a little bit, you know. Righty, so I think that actually looks quite good. I actually put a slightly longer piece of heat shrink on over top again. After I'd done them, I sort of thought, well, that's a bit short. I probably should have put it onto the other piece instead of just covering the terminal bit. So I just put a little bit longer piece on there. So it went onto the, as you can see, it went onto the cable a little bit. I know it probably doesn't really need to be there, but I just helps just finish it, make it look a little bit tidier, I guess, when it's not quite the right terminal on there. So yeah, I don't think anybody will really know now. So yeah, we'll get these ones done. We'll start doing these ones, and now that I've got the boots here somewhere. What do we do with them? No, not around here, are they? Yeah, we got some boots the other day for them. Yeah, there they are. So got some boots for those. So we'll put them on as well. So yeah, we're getting closer and closer all the time. What are these like now? Doesn't feel too bad, the paint on there. So yeah, probably tomorrow morning I'll give these see how they feel. Might just give, especially where I've sort of probably dribbled it on a little bit thick, we'll just give it a light rub with about 600 or 800 just to knock any high funny little bits off, I guess. Just tell me how we feel. Everything feels like it's pretty dry now, which is good. We can give that a bit of a light rub back with some 800 or 600, and then we can go around and give them a little light polish. Even with the buffer, I can just smear a bit on the pad and just lightly go around, just to polish the edge up a wee bit and polish up a wee bit around here. I'll do these two while we're at it, and then we can carry on with that other stuff, get the wheels painted and put the bearings in these, get all the bearings seated in. We'll get the wheels on. Shame we haven't got the new bands and tyres, but at least we can get it back on its feet, which will be good. So yeah, but anyway, I'll carry on doing these for a few more minutes and then we'll freaking home. And hopefully he picks up a can of
So I might just give that another wee coat, black. But yeah, hopefully we can pick up a can of white and we can get the inside of that painted. So I might just take that off and put a wee bit of black on that side, eh? It's not ideal now, that, but at least it's strong and this stuff won't get broken off. But you're never going to see it, and it's not much different to what it was really. It's just hasn't got all that stuff on it, you know, the pot metal holding all that tube and everything else. So it's probably a bit safer now, I guess. But yeah, we'll start playing with this stuff. What I'm going to say, I may as well carry on and terminate all these off, and then we'll go from there, I guess. Once we've got all this buttoned up, we can work on something else. So that's that done. So we'll, yeah, work out what to do now. I'll give these wheels a wee light rub, just a wee light wet sand, so we can polish them. And then we might give those rims a bit of a scuff and just flick them silver. We don't need to get fancy, just so tidy, I think. Alrighty, so we got some oil for the engine. We're waiting on oil for the gearbox and the diff. I was even a wee read of this. I didn't. Again, this is not quite what I would have bought. It's probably the right weight, maybe. But I probably would have went with a high zinc. I'm just not sure whether it's a high zinc or not. Yeah. But that's what he's got. I'll run that past Dad. I know a lot of the guys down here with the V8s and stuff run a 2050 Penrite with really high zinc in it. And they do make a lot of classic engine stuff. It's a bit thicker and but I'm just not sure about that. We'll see. I've got my cream paint, so I've just given that a light dusting in the air. I'll let that dry for a few minutes, and then I'll give it another couple of coats. I tried to give these a light wet sand and buff them, and I've just re-rubbed them back a little bit again. I didn't actually mix any, when I did the little bit of brush stuff. I didn't mix any hardener in with the paint. I just did it off the can. And I think it's just a bit soft. Like it will harden up, but yeah, it just seems to be a bit soft, a bit green, because it's trying to, look, it's pulling it out. Like, not that I'm buffing hard, but these aren't too bad. Like, it is pulling the paint out, but it's not too bad. But these ain't, because I did them yesterday. Like, I did them, what did I do them Friday? I think it was today, Wednesday. So I only did these ones yesterday, and it's there's rub. But yeah, you can see where it's basically pulled the paint back here where the scratches. Kinda. It hasn't completely, if you know what I mean. Like, it's way better than when they were. But I might just have to go around and just touch them up again and just leave them for maybe a week and then try and give them a buff, maybe, or just let it be, if you know what I mean. I might try and buff them up a bit better than they are, because I just run around. Because I just wet sand them with about 600 and then a bit of 8, but I've just gone around them with lightly with a bit of 1500, 2000, and then just that half pad to try and just give them a bit more sheen, and then I might just give them another light buff. So we're going to bring the colour up, we'll shine it up a bit, and then we'll just, later on, we might just go around and give them another little dab with a paintbrush. They're not bad, nowhere near as bad as what they were, but yeah, it's pulling the colour out of black, so we'll re-attack them and get them out of the road, because I want to get those things cleaned up and painted. And then also, I've been doing a wee bit of work on these too, so we can give them a buff up before, we'll zoom out a little bit, so we can give them these a buff while I was doing them. So yeah, we're kind of there, so hopefully, yeah, we can at least, yeah, we'll get these wheels fucking painted. I want to get them painted today. That's my main concentration. I got that stuff buttoned up. That only took half an hour, if that. Yeah, that drying. We'll leave that for half an hour or so, and then we'll give another wee dusting. But yeah, we'll pull these out, and we'll give these all a bit of a colour up, and these little lock rings. So basically, these have got cleats. So I need to find all those cleats too, and we'll give them all a bit of a colour up as well. I'll just work out what I'm going to do them there. I'll have a look at some photos and just see what colour people paint them. I know they're in a box here somewhere. Somewhere. And we'll find them and we'll clean them up and paint them too. Yeah, it's amazing, all these 5-minute jobs. It's freaking, you know, you think you're close and then it's get a job like this and it's going to take me the whole day. Probably by the time I clean that up stuff, even, you know, just with a simple clean up, if you know what I mean. Still to buff all them, clean them all up, whatever. Give them a half a decent coat of paint so they don't look like shit on the car with the rest of it all done, until we get the proper wheels and new tyres in here, and then we can paint everything properly, if you know what I mean, with some decent paint. But if we just give them a spritz up with that silver, at least they'll look nice. Alright, I'll get back to you. Right, so quick coat of etch on them, quick coat of etch on the nuts and the bolts that go on the back, so we can at least we'll try and get a reasonable coat of black on these later. It'll be proper gloss. Contemplating painting them black as well, so I might have to give them a quick scuff up later by hand, and then maybe give them a quick flick of edge. Just, they've already been sandblasted and etched at some stage, but they probably need to be black because they go up against the rim. I probably could paint them silver, but well, yeah, not sure. But I've just given this one a quick coat of silver, so that looks way better. I'm not going to do the inside, it's not worth it. But at least when that's on the vehicle against the black wheel, it'll look reasonable. I might just give it another coat around the outside, just to get it in the bead a bit. Where is that can? Yeah. I'm probably going to have to strip the other 3 off, just so I can do a half reasonable job, if you know what I mean. I don't want it to look complete shit. But it's only just enough to colour these up so they look half decent in the meantime, if you know what I mean. Not getting fussy, just look reasonable. I may give them another coat later on, we'll just see what happens. Yeah, I'll see how far this goes. I might just grab another can when I'm out at lunchtime. And I might grab some little 1/4-inch bolts to do that fuel line and stuff. I haven't got back to that stuff yet either. We'll get back there. I've got the little nuts and bolts and whatever. We got new ones of those. Some of this hardware made, and they're short. Screws are to go in here, but they're the same thread as the long ones, if you know what I mean. So yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. So at least we better test that stuff, and we might better start mocking up a sun visor. Because this here, I don't know if I showed you that before or not, but sits on there like that. So we hope it's the right sweep. We'll find out. If not, we're going to have to try and alter it or something. I don't know how well easy that stuff will move, but if it isn't quite the right thing, we made a pattern of it, you know, and we used this as to run the sweep. So hopefully it's right. Hopefully it's right. They would have been able to use, you know, the original part of it anyway to get a rough ballpark for sweep, I hope. Yeah, we'll have to find out. It's only it's a matter of putting it on there and testing them both and see if they both swing freely and go from there, I guess. There's not much else we can do about it. I think I've got 2 or 3 coats in here now, so I think that should be plenty. We'll just let that dry and unmask that after lunch, and at some point we'll start assembling that gauge and get it back together and work out the fluid side of it and whatever. And I gave the instructions to the old man as well, or the article, for him to read just in case. I'm not going to run it by him, so I might go catch up with him just after lunch and just see what he thinks, because it's a lot of money. We've spent a lot of money fucking trying to make this gauge work, with the kit and the freight and shit. The freight on it was stupid ridiculous, really. It was over $200 American to get it here, which was dumb, absolutely dumb. So yeah, by the time you put your exchange rate and everything into it, it's a ridiculous amount of money for what we got, really. But you know, you can't get that shit anywhere else. So yeah, you sort of stuck, if you know what I mean. Sometimes it's just what you got to pay if you want to try and make something work. How long it'll work for properly, who knows? But you know what I mean. You can only try. So yeah, we will attack that at some point in the next day or two. We'll see what happens. But anyway, carry on. See you after lunch. So I got that one. Obviously, I just did a wee bit of a touch up on that. I just stripped another tyre off and another rim. I'm kind of glad I did it. Like, even though we're not using them they're not going to be used on the road, but if we do happen to do a little bit of driving somewhere, this one here, this tang thing, which obviously helps locate it, it's pulling the weld out, so I'm going to fix this. Right, I just clean the gauge off. Doesn't look it's too bad a match for colour. I think that'll be alright in there from behind. It's not going to stick out too badly. That's good. So just turn that a little bit. This is still going to dry a bit yet, but still see? No, you can't. Sorry, hold on. Zoom it out. Right. So yeah. See, we'll sit up there like that. Right, that's not too bad at all. That's good. Yeah, just if it was, you know, grey or green or silver or something on there, it would look a bit funny, but that's not a, I wouldn't say it's a great match, but it's not far away, if you know what I mean. I'll probably give it another coat, but I don't think it'll matter. But yeah, that's cool. I've still got that bit of a blemish in there, but you don't see it. Like, I filled quite a big hole, which was in part of that view. So it's quite good. At least it's reasonable in there now. And once it's all together and everything's in there, you're never going to notice. That's the main thing. It's, you know, looks fine. I'm trying to get you know, in the light where you can see that. Yeah. So that's not a bad match. You know, it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb, so it's good. Right, we'll get some more wheels apart, and we'll let that dry for another, you know, till the morning or something before we play with that probably. That'll just give that a bit more time to cure. And then we can work out how to work this thing. I haven't been back around to seen Dad yet, so just to quiz him on what he thought. So we've got two wheels partly painted up. Well, one's painted. That I'll, once it's sort of dried a little bit, we'll turn it around 180 on the stand. We'll spray that edge and we'll just give it another flick and round just to clean it up. But we'll strip another one off. I don't know if I'll show you or not. I might do. It's a bit awkward because I haven't really quite got the right gear here, but I manage. I'm lucky that I've done it for years and years and years. I haven't particularly done a lot of these wheels, but I've done enough. Different types of split rims of different degrees. They kind of know how they work. Start coming, they just fall out. So yeah, we'll give this one a quick inspection. Make sure that, yeah, unfortunately they've repaired these rims. They may have used them and they've probably actually ground this down a bit far. I don't know if you can see that. Really. Yeah, because I've put, I don't know whether these have been different set of wheels or not, but they've repaired these pieces, I think, or maybe put new pieces in there. They probably just ground this down a bit far. Got a bit heavy-handed. It's made it thin. This one doesn't look too bad. That one, but the other one had cracked around the pieces, so I really welded it up. But we'll give this a quick scuff. You know, we're not too worried about it. You know, if we were going to paint it properly, well, we'd take it away and sandblast it or whatever, because don't think it would fit in that cabinet. Give it a proper clean up and whatever and check it over and use it. But they're probably okay, but they're probably a bit thin, if you know what I mean, in places, because there's a lot of pitting and pretty heavily pitted. That would be right, you know, as a spear. You have a crack sort of type thing, as you know, if you're doing a big distance somewhere. Maybe have one really good spear and then you could take one of these as a, you know, with an older tyre on it, as a backup, if you know what I mean. You know, one of these would probably be fine, but yeah. I don't think you'd want to be doing a lot of big miles in them. If you happen to use it a bit, if you know what I mean. Like there's a possibility he may do that, peaking to Paris or whatever it is. That's a huge distance, so like I wouldn't be trusting these old things. Like a new set of fresh rims and tyres would definitely be the way to go. But yeah, like again, you could have these. You could have a couple of these as just spares in case you happen to damage one, if you know what I mean. Happen to break a wheel or hit a big rock and bend a rim or something. No, one of these wouldn't go astray. Would probably get you out of the crap until you could get, you know, get one repaired or straightened or whatever, if you know what I mean. Well, give us a clean up. Alright, so these have all had at least one hit. I've got to give this one another just dusting. And we turn it around 180. Pretty sure I've done all the rest. Should be all dry now. So I could probably, I think I'll leave them until tomorrow and then I'll start putting the tyres back on them. So yeah, that's pretty much that. And then we can, just trying to decide what I'm going to do here. These bloody things. I really need to touch them up again. Because I need to paint these too. Oh, I do those too. Yes, I better clean them up. Give them a quick etch. Because I want to paint these with high gloss. Probably not so much these, but definitely the nuts. And the cleats. I want to definitely paint them as well. So yeah. I need to paint them with high gloss as well. And probably those bits. So anyway, I'll get them cleaned up. Just trying to decide what I want to do. Or how am I going to do it? I need to be able to do it easy. I don't want to be mucking around shifting everything. I can probably shift these, but then I still want to touch them up with mixed up paint. If I can touch them up with a bit of mixed up paint, at least it'll go harder. Instead of just off the, not so much off the brush, but it's got hardener in it, if you know what I mean. Just for the few marks that pulled out. Yeah. So yeah, so I need to fucking paint black. Just trying to think, there was something else the other day that I wanted to paint black. Oh, that mirror. Whatever the hell that is. I keep forgetting about the bloody thing. Yeah, or the mirror frame. That's where I was going to try and get that off, wasn't I? Get that wing nut off there. And I probably need to make sure that nut and the screw come loose too before I paint it. Because yeah, there's meant to be a glass in there. And also you do that up and it holds it tight. It's probably like meant to be a little base in there too. For a piece of glass. I'm not really sure. I'm imagining it's probably something, probably not like that, but it's probably been used at some stage, if you know what I mean. It probably wasn't much bigger than that. It probably was about that sort of size. I don't think that would have been off this. Could have been. Could have been. Don't know. It's just weird. There's lots of holes up here for what I don't know. Don't really know. Unless the sun visor, maybe? Don't know. Or unless, yeah, pain in the butt, I don't really know. So I've probably got a video on my phone that might show me. I'll have a look. I've got a couple of early videos from Dave in Australia with the white one that we've got a lot of info off. There's a couple of videos that I've got. We're talking about like up around the roof and stuff like that. I might still have them on my phone. I'll have a quick look.